The Bad Batch episode 14, War-Mantle, it finally did something in the story. Last episode was bad, but episode 14, it was pretty decent. It wasn't like the greatest Bad Batch episode ever, but War-Mantle, it brought back the whole Stormtrooper, transitioning to the Stormtrooper storyline, and it was pretty cool. But it didn't do a whole lot, but it was really cool to see another returning character that we saw initially in the Clone Wars, and then we saw in Rebels, and then we saw in the Clone Wars again. or Bad Batch. So let's go ahead here. It starts out with this random clone that we don't necessarily know about yet, running from the Empire on some hidden, forest or whatever. That clone sends a beacon or a distress signal, and the Bad Batch are in contact with Captain Rex. So Captain Rex ends up contacting them again. So we see him again. That's really, really cool. And he's telling them to go and rescue this clone that is now in the hands of the Empire. He has been recaptured. He did not manage to escape the Empire from wherever he was. And the Bad Batch is very conflicted on what to do, but they ultimately go and see what's up. And then we cut to Kamino. So we're getting some of the Kamino storyline finally, because we need it. We really need it. It's the last few episodes of the season. And at this point now, Rampart and Crosshair are discussing how they're probably going to get rid of the Kaminoans. They don't need the Kaminoans anymore, and the Kaminoans are just of no use to them. That's what the Kaminoans have been fearing, and now Rampart has pretty much reached this mental point where he doesn't really need them anymore. They're moving forward with the Stormtrooper program, this War-Mantle program, and the Kaminoans just aren't important to them anymore. And you can see Lama Sood sees that. He sees that while he sees them talking, and I don't know if he can hear them, but he definitely notices that there are things happening. And while he notices that, he pulls aside some of his other Kaminoans there, and he creates this plan to flee. He wants to flee Kamino. He wants to leave Kamino because he realizes the Empire has no use for them anymore. They're going to completely get rid of them, and he wants to leave. So he sets this plan in motion to gather up all the Kaminoans that they can find and flee Kamino because the Empire wants to get rid of them, and he can notice that. And that's what he sets in place. So back with the Bad Batch, they're on this planet or whatever, and they find this hidden imperial facility within a mountain, which is kind of cool. It seems very quick though. Like, this is suddenly there. I feel like the Empire just formed, but maybe this was being built beforehand, or this is a Republic thing. I honestly don't know, but it is a really cool facility nonetheless. And when the Bad Batch are scoping it out, they notice that there's these random clone troopers here that look very weird. They got different armor now, and you can see clone commandos training them, which is interesting. It's very interesting. I don't think we've really seen too many clone commandos in the Clone Wars in general. I know we saw the Delta Squad just for a quick moment in the Clone Wars, and that was about it. We haven't really seen the clone commandos in Clone Wars specifically, or just in these shows in general, a whole lot. So it's cool to see these clone commandos training these troopers. And then we cut to the trooper that was captured, and we see him in his cell kind of mocking and joking around with the other clone troopers that are there, the other troopers that are there in this new armor. It looks pretty interesting. It looks really weird. He's joking around. He's a very funny clone. He's got a little bit of a sense of humor to him. He's laughing around, and if you notice a clone in Star Wars Rebels with that same attitude, you'll know who this is. So obviously the Bad Batch rescue this clone, and it is Gregor. It is Gregor from Star Wars Rebels. He's got more of his attitude from Star Wars Rebels. He's actually from Clone Wars, but his attitude and his personality is more Rebels-like in this episode. So this is after the explosion in the Clone Wars episode, and he obviously survived. We knew that already. Rex sent the Bad Batch to go rescue Gregor, which is pretty cool. So Gregor's got, a little bit of probably brain damage or something from that explosion, and he's a little funnier. He's got a little sense of humor. He's a little wacky. But it's what Gregor is now. So, but it's pretty cool. Cool to see Gregor. Cool to see him kind of, see the storyline link up and finally see this come through, because we've been wondering where Wolffe and Gregor are, because we see them in Star Wars Rebels and we know they're with Rex. So this makes perfect sense that they're rescuing Gregor. Some cool shots of the clone commandos here. Really interesting to see them training these troopers here. And we noticed that the troopers aren't actually clone troopers. They're normal people. They're recruits. These are like the first true stages of the stormtroopers. So we had Crosshair's squad, and now we have all these recruits being trained by clones, these clone commandos. So this is where the Empire is moving forward now. It's moving forward with these recruits, and that's what they're doing now. So these are their replacements, but they do make a note in the episode that they are in higher quantity. You can find more recruits than, say, make clones. You have to train all these clones, wait for them to grow and the age excel tolerant, and whatever they do with clones, there's a little bit more of a process with clones. But with recruits, you could just recruit people and you got your army, you know. That's kind of what Palpatine liked. We got some other cool shots here of the clones, or clone, and then the troopers. So I honestly don't know what type of stage, I guess you could call this, armor, but it's like a early stage stormtrooper armor, you could say. It's not the clone trooper armor, but it is a different type of armor. It's I guess it's in between, I guess you could say. Essentially, they escape this facility, to make matters short, because they seem to break into things, break out, escape, rescue somebody. That's what they do in this show. And Hunter ends up falling off. So while they're in the heat of, you know, battle and escaping, Hunter ends up not being able to get onto the ship, and he ends up falling. So the rest of the Bad Batch get away on their ship, but unfortunately Hunter ends up falling back into, you know, down the cliff, and he's back in the mountains in the forest, and he is unfortunately surrounded by the Empire. So Hunter has been captured by the Empire, and the Bad Batch had to leave him behind. So that's a storyline we're going to see explored most likely in the finale episodes, the last 2 episodes now, which I feel like it's going to be like a 2-parter type of thing. At least I feel like it will be. It's going to be like this 2-parter type of story, unless they want to make like the last episode really long again. I honestly don't know, but I feel like we're entering this big final story now that we're going to enter, with, you know, Hunter and Crosshair and the Empire, and the Bad Batch maybe trying to go get him back. While we cut away from that, we cut to Kamino, where Rampart has discovered that they are actually trying to flee. So he noticed that one of the Kaminoans were planning to flee. He noticed them trying to, and he confronted Lama Su and brought the whole matter to him. And ultimately, he decided that he doesn't need Lama Su anymore. You know, he takes the other Kaminoan for, you know, as a scientist or whatever, for his use, but he doesn't see Lama Su as any use to him anymore because he's like a politician. They don't really tell us, or they don't really show us, if Lama Su was actually terminated or killed by these troopers here or not. I'm not too sure. I don't think there was any blaster fire that I heard through the wall. The doors closed and we didn't really know, so we'll have to wait and see if Lama Su was killed by the Empire. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it was hinted at that maybe they eliminated Lama Su, so that's interesting. That's definitely interesting. The Empire is truly taking over Kamino now, and they're eliminating the Kaminoans, which is exactly what they feared. At the end scene of the episode is really cool. I'm really excited for what they're going to do in the last few episodes. It's Hunter versus Crosshair. So Crosshair ends up paying Hunter a visit in his cell. So Hunter and Crosshair, that interaction was pretty cool. I'm sure we're going to see more of their interactions in the next episode, I would say, or at least the finale. And we're probably going to see the Bad Batch trying to rescue Hunter, and I suppose that's kind of what the story is. I don't know where they would bring Hunter. Maybe he's going back to Kamino now. I don't know, but I feel like we're going to see a lot more of Kamino in this finale, and I'm still holding out hope for this Kaminoan uprising, the clone uprising that people keep theorizing about. I honestly don't know if it could happen. I feel like it could happen eventually in the show. I don't know if it's a finale thing anymore. We've only got 2 episodes left. It'd be really cool to see, but I think they're setting up this Crosshair storyline more with the Bad Batch as the finale story that they're going to wrap up. Anything else they do will be explored next season, which would be fine, I guess. The Bad Batch episode 14, War-Mantle, good episode, definitely better than the last one. The last one was rough, but this one definitely picked up the pace a bit, and it sets up the finale. It definitely sets up the finale. So the finale episodes are now set up. We are in this final story for season 1, and we got 2 episodes left. On to episode 15.